Good evening and welcome to Raus IAS. On this Sunday evening, we are here to present you the Daily News Simplified. For the DNS session for today, dated 19th of May 2024, we have taken the following articles for the discussion. With respect to your mains examination, we have taken the articles with respect to insurgency in northeastern region of India. And the second article that we have taken is with respect to ease of doing business reforms in India and the steps taken in the last 10 years by the Modi government. With respect to your prelims examination, we have identified three topics from today's newspapers, that is with respect to Kathakali, H5N1 virus and Lignite. And we will be dealing with three MCQs based on the following news. So without further delay, let us begin our discussion. So the first topic is inspired by a news that has been given on the Hindu page number 12, and the news reads, what are the NIA's allegations against NSCN? Well, NSCN is a insurgency group that is called as National Socialist Council of Nagaland, and NIA has charge sheeted certain members of NSCN, and in this context we have taken an article with respect to the internal security situation of northeastern region. So where is the syllabus mapping with respect to this news? The syllabus reads, India's internal security of India is important with respect to your GS paper 3, and in the past 2020 there have been PYQs with respect to the effective border area management, discuss steps required to be taken to deny local support to militants, and also suggest ways to manage favorable perception among locals. Okay, so this was with respect to internal security of India pertaining to the region of Jammu and Kashmir as well as northeastern region. And second, there was another question in 2020 which read that what are the detriments of left-wing extremism in eastern part of India? What strategy could the government of India, civil administration and security forces? Also, when you are going through the questions, read and understand how can we subdivide the question into parts. So even reading the UPSC questions develops a mature understanding that how can you divide your question into parts. For instance, the commission itself is saying that what are the steps, what is the strategy that government of India, that means the executive of India or the political executive of India, the civil administration, that is your district administration with respect to civil services, and security forces, that is security apparatus, that is central government paramilitary forces, can adopt to counter the threat in the affected areas. So similarly, again a comprehensive answer if you have to write, you'll have to mention the points with respect to the northeastern region of India as well as the Jammu and Kashmir. So before moving further, let us understand a background, a comprehensive background of the northeastern region of India. So the region was established when in 13th century a home kings migrated from Myanmar, that is erstwhile Burma, and settled over there in the valley of Brahmaputra. That happened in 13th century. Over the period, this entire landmass, almost all of this landmass, was consolidated under the power of a home kings, which we have also in the past we have made a DNS on that subject, that topic as well. But over the period, in the battle, the Anglo-Burmese war, that was fought in 1824, this particular region came in the direct influence of Britishers, right? So what happened? Britishers started dominating these particular areas. However, what was the perception of Britishers? So Britishers at the same time, you must also be remembering that they were fighting wars with respect to China as well, right? So what was happening? They only considered this region in the context of a springboard. They understood and perceived this area as a springboard for further launch of further operations, right? For example, in the Far East, how can we weaken China from the Western Front, so on and forth. Furthermore, first aspect is with respect to springboard. right? Second aspect is with respect to the resources. At the same time, Britishers were also developing railways, ports, and navigation. So northeastern region acted as a resource hub for the entire British expansionist plans. And the third aspect is with respect to the discovery of oil. Right. So in Assam, the discovery of oil was done in 1866, and from that instance onwards, the region of Northeast became a comprehensive hub for the from the first aspect, a springboard to the eastern part, and then second, as a resource hub. And you must be remembering from where does the name, which is the primary refinery in India, Digboy, right? So this name Digboy is itself a derivative of the two terms. First is dig and second is boy. So this is how the name of Digboy came into being, right? Moving on. So this is a brief background of the history of northeastern region in the from the context of Britishers. Moving on, when we got independence from the Britishers, the same, almost the same attitude of the government of India continued in the initial phases, and a policy of isolation and alienation continued with respect to the northeastern region. There were steps by our leaders such as Jawaharlal Nehru with respect to the northeastern region that can be called as tribal Panchasheel policy, but still those were not so much comprehensive steps that could be that could help arrest the alienation, right? So with this brief background, let us understand the importance of northeastern region of India. So obviously the first importance is with respect to the strategic location. The northeastern region of India includes 7 sisters and the state of Sikkim, and it borders how many states? It borders, Sikkim borders Bhutan and Nepal, and apart from Sikkim, the states of Arunachal Pradesh and other states border China, Myanmar, and Bangladesh as well, right? So this is the geostrategic significance of northeastern region of India. And similarly, the northeastern region of India is associated with India with a small piece of land that is called as Chicken's Neck. So this also makes it a very much strategic. It makes this region very much strategic with respect to national and geographical security of India. Thirdly, the economic, ethnic diversity and cross-border linkages with respect to the northeastern region from towards Myanmar and Bangladesh, right? So this makes the importance of northeastern region furthermore consolidated, right? For example, Naga tribes reside both on the east of border as well as some tribes also reside in Assam as well. Similarly, Manipuri tribes also reside in certain Manipuri tribes also reside in the Myanmar region. And next is the importance of northeastern region, that is China factor, right? For example, China considers Arunachal Pradesh as the part of Tibet. China has a five finger and a palm policy with respect to which Tibet is the palm and there are 5 fingers, and one of the fingers is Arunachal Pradesh. It considers Arunachal Pradesh as a part of its 5 finger and palm approach. And most importantly, another aspect with respect to which northeastern region is important is the water. It is replete with rivers like Brahmaputra and so on, and this water is of strategic importance for India and the other countries of the region, right? Moving on, let us discuss the causes of insurgency in Northeast. The first aspect that we just understood and read in the background is with respect to the colonial legacy. So colonialist powers, what they did for the consolidation, they approached with multifaceted approach. For example, Christianity was pushed pardon, Christianity was pushed in the northeastern region of India, which led to ethnic clashes. Similarly, the administrative lines were drawn in an arbitrary manner. It led to the problems with respect to, it solved the governance issues, but it permanently created the seeds for inter-ethnic and inter-tribal wars. Similarly, pardon, in the post-independence India, this discontent was not resolved. Why? Because even the post-independence India, the policy was of keeping them isolated, because it was understood that tribes need not to be touched, right? The sanctity of the tribal issues, laws and customs needs to be respected, and they need not be brought to the mainstream. So one aspect, this policy was okay, that yes, you need not to touch the customs and regulations of the tribals, but at the same time every policy has multiple facets. So the negative facet was with respect to, it led to the alienation, right? Third is economic underdevelopment. The northeastern region of India lags far behind with respect to economic development, right? For instance, the unemployment rate of India, if it is, for example, near to 4.5 to 4.8%, the unemployment rate of certain parts of Nagaland reaches as high as 9%. You see, it is even almost double the national unemployment rate. So economic underdevelopment has led to creation of very few jobs, and these few jobs are reflected in the one of the highest unemployment rates in the states like Mizoram and Nagaland. Then next is with respect to political alienation. Despite this area contributing significantly to the landmass of India, this area is very scarcely represented in the Parliament of India. So this has further alienated these people, because they haven't found voice in the mainstream media, mainstream legislation, so on and forth. And lastly, with respect to resource exploitation, in this, to a large extent it has improved, but still resources are exploited, and it is understood but the local perception in the minds of local people is that we have become a kind of resource providers for the development of the mainland India. So these are the issues with respect to causes with respect to insurgency. Moving on, let us understand the consequences of these insurgencies, right? The first aspect with respect to this is civilian and military casualties. So just after the region of Jammu and Kashmir, this region records the highest civilian and military casualties. In the past, we have taken up various kind of exercises and agreements with respect to Myanmar as well, but still we have got so many civilian and military casualties in this area. Next is with respect to infrastructural sabotage. So what happens is that even when government tries to lay down various pipelines, various roads, bridges, tunnels, and so on and forth, so what do these insurgent people do? These insurgents start sabotaging those pipelines, those highways, those tunnels, right? Because the more they are secluded, the more they will be able to rule those people, the more they will be able to create a kind of fear and intimidation. So the insurgency leads to, second aspect is with respect to infrastructural sabotage. Then third aspect is with respect to vicious underdevelopment. Now, because there is no lack of rail, road and air connectivity in the northeastern region, it leads to lack of industry, and industry is the engine of growth. So hence there is a lack of industry, and hence subsequent lack of unemployment, and this unemployment fuels further insurgency, right? Moving on, they also further create intimidation and threat with respect to the tourism industry. Obviously, you know, it is one of the this region is particularly one of the biological hotspots in the world, but still the potential with respect to tourism remains underutilized. Next is with respect to extortion and intimidation, right? So these are the obvious tactics used by the militants for the underdevelopment and resisting from coming into the mainstream with respect to the northeastern region. What they do, whenever a contractor goes there for the development of certain projects, they start extorting money. Just these are the similar tactics also used by the left wing extremists in the areas of Chhattisgarh and Odisha as well. So what they do, they extort and intimidate the contractors with respect to paying bribes, right? Moving on, what have been the steps taken by the government in this context? So, Government of India and Ministry of Home Affairs has specifically followed a policy of talks and negotiations. Government is ready with respect to negotiating with the insurgent groups. The attitude of government has over the period gone from neutral to positive, that yes, these are the people who belong to the mainland of India, and if they have certain grievances, it is the approach of the government that we need to hear them, listen them, and bring these people to the mainstream. Then the central government, because law and order is what? Law and order is a state subject, right? So government, what does the government try to do? Government try to continuously assist the states in the law and order situation by providing assistance through paramilitary forces, Assam Rifles, and to a certain extent army as well. Similarly, if the situation does not come under control, the government has got this special legislation that is by the name of Armed Forces Special Power Act. This particular act gives special powers to the police and army with respect to search and seizure operations carried out in the disturbed areas, right? Once the area is declared as a disturbed area and covered under the AFSPA Act, the police has got special powers with respect to search and seizure, which are not there in the rest of the mainland. Similarly, the government has in the past carried out a surrender cum rehabilitation scheme for the region, and there have been active civic action and publicity advertisement with respect to improvement of tourism in the northeastern region of India. Now, after understanding the concept in a comprehensive way, let us understand what can be the suggestions and what can be the way forward in this context. So any reform, if you have to undertake, you have to take it in the multiple aspects, right? For example, this question just read that what can the government of India do, what can the civil administration do, and what can the security forces do. Similarly, while writing your answers, you need to divide your answer into various subsections, that what can be the governance reforms, what can be the social sector reforms, what can be the economic development reforms, and what can be the foreign policy reforms in this context. So let us understand what can be the governance reforms. So Government of India needs to improve the digital connectivity in general and digital connectivity in particular to bring this area into the mainstream, right? Then there are suggestions with respect to resolution of interstate disputes, right? How do these interstate disputes emanate? Because there are various sections of land to which there is a claim from this one particular state, and then this area is governed by the other particular state, right? For example, A has this land which is claimed by A, but it is governed by B. So these kind of internal disputes can be resolved easily by the 6th schedule authorities, right? Then there are recommendations with respect to streamlining the land laws for efficient use of land so that industries can come in. However, there are reservations as well. Critics argue that once these land laws are modified, what will it lead to? This will lead to creation of monoculture by various companies, and these kind of fears lead to further alienation of the people. For example, monoculture of palm oil will not only play with the diversity of the area, but also lead to various environmental disasters. Then these are the concerns raised by the various protesters. And last is with respect to controlling the conflict economy. Now, what is the meaning of conflict economy? Let us understand. This area lies in the near the area which is called as a golden triangle. Now, golden triangle is the region which is touching the northeastern region of India, Myanmar, and further leads to Thailand. This area is known for the production as well as usage of various kind of psychotropic substances. Now, this conflict economy is inherently linked with this particular issue because gun running, uh, this drug issue, right, and then capturing of females, so on and forth, are these are the various issues associated with the this particular conflict economy. And once this conflict economy, people who benefit for the with the conflict economy, they would never like, right, they would never like that this conflict economy ends and the region comes to peace. So dealing with the conflict economy is the one of the primary aspect with respect to the governance reforms. Moving on to the social reforms, although the government has carried out various initiatives with respect to establishment of IIMs, right, still the educational parameters, especially the primary education and college education parameters of the people coming from northeast still lag behind, right. Then what can be done? The thing that can be done is with respect to improving the educational standards, and then representation in sports can also be one of the alternative in this context. And lastly, if it cannot be repealed, AFSPA as of now, if it cannot be repealed, one can do what one can do, we can humanize this law, right. Then let us come to the economic development aspect. The economic development aspect is considered as a kind of one-stop solution, although it is not, right, but still developing communication infrastructure, establishment of special economic zones, further investing in various kind of energy projects, workforce development in the context of skill development, and boosting local produce. Local produce has a primary significance in the context of it is very much organically produced. So we need to create various supply chains so that the product from the northeast comes to the mainland, and the local farmers can benefit, as well as the people of India can people of mainland can also benefit from this particular initiative. And lastly, we need to carry out foreign policy reforms. We need to establish cordial relations when it comes to the other regional players, for example Myanmar and Bangladesh, so that there is a cross-border coordination when it comes to apprehending the these culprits and bringing the region to peace, right. And we need to understand that this region of northeast can act as a gateway to ASEAN and a prominent pillar of Act East policy. Right. Moving on to the next article for the main discussion. The article is in the context of ease of doing business in the last decade. Right. The context of this article is that Department of Promotion of Industries and Internal Trade is working to improve India's position in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business ranking. I don't know how and why this person has said this statement, because as of now, this Ease of Doing Business ranking has been scrapped and a new ranking and a new parameter is about to begin. But nevertheless, let us understand the concept. Let us understand the brief background and what did our government do in the past 10 years to improve the ease of doing business. Right. So this news can be traced to General Studies paper 3 and in broader sense the FDI policy. And in the past 2016 there was an exact question that justify the need of FDI for development, right, okay, for Indian economy, and where is the gap between MOU signed. So at that point of time, there used to be a situation that many foreign players used to come to India, right, for signing the MOUs, right? For example, you must have read the news that this particular state, for example, Gujarat, has bagged MOUs worth rupees 10,000 crore, 20,000 crore, so on and forth. The states of Maharashtra have bagged MOUs worth rupees 50,000 crores, but they were never materialized in the real sense. So UPSC rightly asked the question, where is the gap between MOU signed and actual FDIs coming in? And further suggest remedial steps to be taken for increasing actual FDIs in India. So what are the remedial steps? The remedial steps can be summated by reading the ease of doing business, right? So over the period in 2014, our ranking was 142, and the last rankings which were published were in 2019, and this report has been scrapped since 2021, and in the pressure of China. And we will be coming up with a new report by the name of Be Ready by the World Bank, and this first report will be released in September 2024. Nevertheless, let us understand what are the various initiatives and efforts done by the government for the reforms in doing business. So let me ask you a question. Suppose you are the person who is going to start a business. Now, what are your expectations from the host? Let's suppose you are a person who is going to invest in a foreign country, right? Or you are starting a business. What are your expectations from the various regulators, various governments? All right. So the first step, what are the key factors considered while determining the ease of doing business, are nothing but the factors which we can consider before starting a business. So there needs to be a ease when we begin to initiate a business, right? For example, easing the procedures, time, cost, and minimum capital required to start a new business, right? For example, there are certain regulations that require that, yes, what was the reason behind this is that government always looked the private players with apprehension up till 1990s LPG reforms. Even after the reforms changed from the top, but the attitude of bureaucracy still continued in the same way, and the government used to see the business owners and providers as a kind of East India Company like Lutera, right? So before starting business, there used to be very stringent conditions with respect to, let us say, capital. There used to be red tapeism, excessive time and cost requirements that the businessman had to pay. So at this point instance, businessman gets demoralized with respect to starting a new business. Next is dealing with construction permits. If you have had this particular experience or not, I don't know, but getting a construction permit in India, we need to go to almost 12 departments, not or even more, right? And everywhere, there is a issue of process involved, time and cost to obtain necessary permits for construction, and there are plethora of permits that you need to take before even starting a business, right? Then there were issues with respect to even small aspects such as getting electricity, and all these issues are chronologically arranged from the inception of business to the conclusion of business, right? Then there were issues with respect to registration of property, and all of these issues revolve around one central issue, that is the red tapeism mindset of the bureaucracy. Then there were issues with respect to payment of taxes and trading across borders. And lastly, when you conclude a company, when you declare insolvency, then there were issues with respect to resolving the insolvency in India. Now, since we have learned that the position prior to 2014 was that we had a abysmal ranking of 142, and we climbed to the ranking of 63 in 2019. we must have undertaken certain reforms. The details of all those reforms with specific rankings, so on and forth, have been provided to you in the PDF that has been associated with the video. But let us understand those reforms quickly in various aspects, right? So what were the various reforms initiated? In the context of starting a business, there were integration reforms with respect to online, providing provision for online services, integration of processes, and reduction of documents. There are case studies with respect to government of Maharashtra that in which reforms, specific reforms were carried out in the city of Bombay. And all they did was digitization and reduced documentation. This led to improvement in various rankings. Then reforms with respect to construction permits. In this aspect, we did what? We did online and time bound approvals. What is the meaning of time bound approval? That approval in which, for example, you have applied for a construction permit and you have applied it to the municipal corporation, and if the process, it is if there is an statutory limit that yes, permit should be given in, for example, 60 days. Okay, so what will happen on the 61st day? Either you have permit or you can start your construction. It will be assumed that by default, if the permission is not rejected, right, if the application is not rejected, then you can start your construction on the 61st day, right? Then there were reforms with respect to getting electricity, right? And in this also, see, most of the places you will see reforms in the online system as well. What did this online system do? This online system reduce the interface between the user and the bureaucracy, right? So whatever was the problem was with respect to the bureaucratic mindset. Again, these examples become important for your GS paper 4 as well, because bureaucratic attitudes are part of your GS paper 4 as well, and these examples can be used in your answer writing as well. Then with respect to registration of property, there were reforms with respect to digitization of records and standardization of processes. That yes, there needs to be standard operating procedures, and the processes cannot be different from for one set of individuals and different for another set of individuals, right? Then another reforms were with respect to getting credit. Again, getting credit used to be a cumbersome process in India, but the reforms were initiated with respect to credit information system, and subsequently it became a lot easier to get credit for initiation of business in India. Then there were aspects with respect to payment of taxes. We all know the government came up with two reforms. The first being GST reform, and the second one being online tax payment system. Both of these reforms led to the reduction of interface between businessmen and government, that is bureaucracy. These led to improvement in ease of doing business. Then there were reforms with respect to trading across borders, the detail of which you can read in the PDF enclosed. Another challenge that the government was facing with respect to improvement of ranking was the performance of courts. So the government again took the help of digitization, and commercial courts and e-courts were established for the resolution of disputes, and government actively encouraged the institution of alternate dispute resolution, right? And then lastly, with respect to resolving insolvency, the government strengthened the insolvency and bankruptcy code, and further consolidated and improved the performance of various agencies associated in this context. Right, so these were the reforms. The specifics of these reforms can be further read with the help of the notes that have been provided. Moving on, Since this particular ranking has been scrapped, the World Bank has come up with a Be Ready index or Be Ready report. This particular report will assess the regulatory framework, since see other aspects have been covered and consolidated in comprehensive way, right? So the only aspect that remains an issue is with respect to improvement of regulatory framework and public service directed at firms. And these particular now henceforth the Be Ready index will focus on efficiency with which these elements are combined in practice, so that a particular business house or businessman suffers no more in the context of establishment of new business in India, right? So this aspect is important with respect to your prelims examination as well. And the 10 assessment parameters given out by the Be Ready index are again almost similar to, but some certain aspects like labor reforms are different. For example, there have been aspects which the report will look in the context of opening a business, right? Business entry, how easy it is to get an entry into India with respect to opening a business, and how easy is it to decide a location with respect to conduct of business in India. Then with respect to operations of business, there are parameters on which the country would be judged with respect to utility services, labor, financial services, international trade, taxation, dispute resolution, again and market competition. And lastly, when it comes to closing a business, concluding the business cycle, the country would be judged based on how well the insolvency laws of the country perform. With this, we come to an end with respect to our mains discussion. We'll take a break and we will see what the newspaper has in the context of your preliminary examination. So from the preliminary standpoint, there were 3 questions. First one being from Kathakali, second one being from H5N1 virus, and third one being from Lignite. So let us understand what was the context of the first news on which we have framed an MCQ for you. The first one is that Triple IT and Kalamandalam, these two institutions have come up together and developed and have committed to use artificial intelligence to bring the interface of Kathakali closer to art lovers. Now this news in itself is not important. What is important for us is Kathakali, because it is one of the classical dance forms in India. And in the past, UPSC has asked questions on dance forms, and dance forms remain pertinent with respect to both preliminary as well as mains examination. So for the visual learners associated with us, let us see a couple of pictures associated with this dance. So this dance has its origin in the state of Kerala, right? So these are the various pictures associated with the dance. Let us understand key facts associated with this particular dance form. Now the origin of this dance form can be traced to the Katha tradition. Katha means story, right? So various stories like Ramanattam and Krishnattam. So these are the stories associated with the life of Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, right? So this word itself, Katha and Kali, learners who come from Hindi background would be easily able to decipher that Katha means a story and Kali means drama, right? So a drama or a ballad kind of performance in which a story is told in form of drama. Now, let me ask you, what is the difference between a story and a drama? So हम लोग कभी कभी we use these words that he or she is further dramatizing the situation. So a story में there is an element of plain and simple narration. There are no emotions involved. However, when you use your emotions, like for example, anger, love, right, anxiety, uh, so on and forth, and you dramatize those instances, it becomes a art form that is called as drama, right? So it is nothing but taking up a story and presenting it in a visual form, in a form of drama, right? So it is closely linked to Kodiyattam, and this particular art form is a mixture of Malayalam and Sanskrit. Another important aspect to learn with respect to this dance form, drama form, is that there are all male performers, right? Now, if we come back, even though he might look like a female figure, but right now this is an illusion, and this is a male artist, right? Furthermore, it involves both dance and drama, right? This is not a plain art performance, it also involves various dance forms associated with it. Then there are 9 most important facial expressions called as navras, and in total there are 24 fundamental mudras around which this dance form rotates or revolves. Then it is also called as the ballad of the East, right? Ballad is again a form of, if you are an art lover, you must have heard that it is again a European art form in which a story is narrated in a way in which music and drama is mixed and a performance is set on a stage, right? The language which is used is Mani Parvalam, and there are various elaborate facial expressions. And lastly, the musical instruments used in this form are drums, chenda, and madala. Right. Based on the information that we have just received, we will solve MCQs, and in the past there has been a direct MCQ on the dance performance called as Satariya dance. Now let us solve this MCQ. Consider the following statements regarding Kathakali. Okay, so Kathakali is a classical dance form that originated in Tamil Nadu. Is it correct? No, obviously it is incorrect because it originated in the state of Kerala. It is characterized by elaborate costumes. Yes. Intricate makeup. Yes. Elaborate costumes, intricate makeup, and detailed gestures, because there are 24 fundamental mudras, right? So this statement is correct. The theme of Kathakali performances are usually drawn from epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata. So this is the first statement that we read, that the origin can be traced to Ramanattam and Krishnattam, right? So the stories are derived from Ramayana and Mahabharata. How many statements are correct? It makes 2 statements correct. That the right answer is B. Right. Moving on to the next topic. The topic is in the context of outbreak of H5N1 virus in USA. The syllabus mapping with respect to this news is science and technology portion, and these kind of virus led questions are frequently asked. The virus is of particular importance for the UPSC examination, right? And the questions in the context of virus have been frequently asked in the past, right? So let us briefly understand the key facts associated with H5N1 virus or influenza. The World Health Organization defines influenza as a contagious acute respiratory illness caused by the influenza virus, right? There are various subtypes with respect to influenza, and there are 4 types in this context: A, B, C and D. To us, for our understanding, A and B type are important, C is not that important, and D specifically affects only the cattle. So it is again not that much important. If we come to type A, it is further divided into various subtypes of virus, and the name nomenclature, why is it called as H5N1, H5N1? So there are two elements to it, first one being hemagglutinin and second one being neuraminidase, right? And these proteins are linked to the virus, and the nomenclature is from H1 to H18 and N1 to N11. So the virus can be formed in various forms. For example, it can be even H7, N9, right? So on and forth. Okay. Now, as per WHO's understanding, the human can be affected with avian, swine, and other zoonotic influenza viruses, right? So we are not we are again susceptible to influence from these viruses, and in fact, this particular virus is again one of the forms of the virus which we just came, right? That is COVID virus. Again, another key information associated with this is that it does not spread from person to person. So person to person spread does not happen, and there is no evidence of spreading of this virus from a properly cooked food. Once the food is cooked, once the milk is pasteurized, which means it is boiled to a certain degree, so this virus will not be able to affect the individual. However, humans, it would be wrong to say that humans are immune to this virus, right? Based on our understanding, in the past there has been question on Zika virus. Let us try to solve the MCQ based on the above information. Consider the following statements regarding H5N1 virus. The virus is divided into subtype based on two proteins on the surface of the virus. Yes, we just read that there are two proteins, H and N, and in the combination of these two proteins, the nomenclature of this particular virus is done, right? That is hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, right? So the first statement is correct. Now let us read the second statement. There is a strong evidence, look at the language, that the disease can be spread to people through properly prepared and cooked poultry food. So is this statement correct, that this virus will spread even through properly and adequately prepared food, right? So this statement appears to be incorrect, because one, this is a extreme kind of statement, and then based on our understanding and knowledge that we just read, even if we cannot trust our instincts, we need to trust our knowledge, right? So it does not spread from person to person, and there is no evidence of spreading from properly cooked food. So statement 2 is incorrect. Which of the statement given above are correct? Statement 2 incorrect. That means that the answer is 1. Moving on to the last article for today, which we have taken from an image that was published on the science page of the Hindu, right? So the news was with respect to Navy Lignite Corporation and how and what they are doing to overcome the push by government when it comes to transformation to renewable energy. In this context, let us understand about first the importance of coal in the India's energy matrix, and second, specific reference to lignite, how it is formed, where it is found in India, so on and forth, and let us try to solve one MCQ based on the information. Now the context of this news we have derived from that the coal and lignite, especially lignite, are the mainstay of energy security of India, and still 55% of energy needs of the country are met through coal, and lignite is one of the subforms of the coal. Now, how is coal formed, right? So we have taken an image to make you understand the formation of coal and various qualities of the coal that we have, right? So all it takes is heat and pressure, right? So peat is the most initial form of coal, most rudimentary, most primary form of coal, in which the raw material, and specifically the matter, is in the most amorphous form, right? And as and when the time and pressure increases, this particular matter condenses and consolidates and takes the shape of lignite. Now, if the carbon content, coal is the quality of coal is judged by the carbon content in the coal. So peat is obviously the lowest form of coal, in which the carbon content is even less than 60%, even up to 50%, right? So as and when the compaction takes place in the presence of heat and pressure, the compaction takes place and it transforms into lignite, which has the percentage of 60 to 65% carbon. So obviously, the more the carbon, the more is its calorific value, and the better it is for considering into the um, various thermal power projects. Next, moving on, the better another more improved and better quality is bituminous coal. It again, all the game is with respect to heat and compaction. Over the period, the lignite further compacts and converts into bituminous coal, and the highest grade coal is anthracite coal, which has the carbon content of even up to 95% to 97%, right? So you please do your research and tell me whether anthracite is also found in India or not. So obviously, because we are reading this news in the context of Tamil Nadu, right? So lignite is found in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now let us see quick facts about lignite. It is also known as brown coal. Why is it so? Because it has high amounts of water and organic matter present in it. It has low carbon content up to 65 to 70%, or even lesser than that. And it has low organic maturity because it is found on the stage 2 of formation just after peat, right? Then, because it is a product of lesser compaction carried out over time, it is relatively softer, and because there is less compaction, it has high water content. Another issue associated with the use of lignite is its pollution potential. It contains mercury and sulfur and has a high pollution potential, and that is why our government is trying to push towards moving towards renewable sources of energy, because it is highly polluting in nature. Now it is found in the states of Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Jammu and Kashmir, right? And Tamil Nadu is the highest producer of lignite in India. And if you'll read the PDF, you will get to know which two are the other highest producing states of lignite in India. And lastly, Navely Lignite Corporation in Tamil Nadu is the largest open cast mine that is found in India. That is a prelim centric information. Based on the information that we have just received, there was coal is of importance to UPSC, and the questions relating to coal have been asked in your preliminary examination quite a lot of times. So let us try to solve this particular question. Consider the following statements about lignite. The first one being, lignite is also known as brown coal. Yes, we read that lignite is also known as brown coal. Why? because there is high presence of high organic matter and water in it, because of over the period it has got compacted lesser, right? So it is also known as brown coal. Second, lignite has least proportion of carbon as compared to other grades of coal. Yes, if you compare, if you don't count peat as the primary source of coal, because it is one of the formative stages of formation of coal, so lignite is considered as one of the least proportion of coals found anywhere, right? Tamil Nadu is the largest producer of lignite in India. Yes, and lignite is also mined in Gujarat and Rajasthan in India. Now, based on our reading, how many of the statements are correct? Yes, all 4 of them are correct. Interestingly, if I would have removed Gujarat and say placed J&K, would this statement have been correct again? So when you are reading about resource distribution, you kindly ensure that the states which appear or look like aberrations, you also pay special attention to those states, right? Even if I would have said or written J&K over here, the statement would have been correct, but most of you would have marked it incorrect, because normally the common sense dictates that yes, we seldom hear about coal mining in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, so it must be incorrect, right? But still, yes, Jammu Kashmir is one of the leading producers of lignite in India, right? So based on our understanding, all of the 4 statements are correct. With this, we conclude the session for today, and I hope to meet you soon. If you have liked this video, press the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. Have a good evening.